So consciousness, being conscious, is very much about using both brains, the right and left brain, so that you can become more creative and also use your logic to fulfill your needs on earth. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Emmerance Podcast. I'm your host, Emmerance Victoria, and today we are going to summarize the last 3 episodes, but putting it more in practice and why it's important for you to be aware of the 3 things, the 3 last episodes that I spoke about. So at first, we spoke about blind faith, right? I wanted to make sure that you understood that religion, many things that are man-made are made for you to be obedient. We looked at the 42 laws of Ma'at and the 10 commandments, and we saw how controlling the 10 commandments are actually compared to the 42 laws of Ma'at, which gives you the total accountability for your actions, for everything that you've done. And so it is important for you to understand that the world that you live in, how it works, and why you're there. I cannot answer that for you, but what I can tell you is it's so important to at least know yourself, know how your body works, know that you have a spirit, and you're just not aware of it. So, in the last 3 episodes, like I mentioned, we talked about the blind faith and also the I am spell. The I am spell is the fact that in the Bible, it does tell you to not say God's name in vain, but we constantly say God's name in vain. Like we know, if you read the Bible, Yahweh is one of the names of God, and Yahweh means I am. And when people ask Jesus, I don't know exactly who asked Jesus, but in New Testament, when Jesus was asked who he is, he says that I am, right? So when we say that I am this and that and all the stuff that we think we are putting a spell on ourselves because our brain cannot differentiate between what we actually like and what we don't like. So your brain just gives you whatever you're talking about, especially when you say I am, because you're describing yourself and your ego is taking it in. Now, another thing that I wanted to confirm with you before I move forward in this podcast episode is the fact that you are a manifestation machine and your circle is one thing that can bring you down. Okay. And what does that mean is in your life, your goal is basically to remain positive. Your goal is to choose order instead of chaos. But we know way too many times that often our circle is just there to gossip, to bring negativity, or someone, somehow, somewhere is trying to put you in a situation where now you have to fix their problems. So I want you to understand that in the last episode, it is very, very important that you set your boundaries, that you also, when you are embarking in this journey of self-discovery, of putting yourself first, you have to understand that boundaries is your best friend. Boundaries is actually the force that you need in order for you to become an authority in your life. So the last 3 episodes, I talked about that. The first 4 podcast episodes that I shared was very theories. And the reason why it's because I sat down, guys, and I decided to guide you through the spiritual awakening. If you are listening to my podcast today and you listen to since the beginning, since season 1, I applaud you because there is so many truth in there. But what I'm realizing now with the things that I know today is the fact that the stuff that I shared in the first 3 seasons, they're very materialistic, they're very physical, but we're moving away from that. I'm going to talk about that in the next podcast episode when I'm going to talk about the evolution of men. But in today's podcast episode, I wanted to give you this clear understanding that I am here to walk you through this physical reality to your spiritual reality. While I'm also doing that in my own life, I want you to do the same. If you are now following me on social media, I am sharing more and more information about what's going on today. Today, we are realizing, and a lot of people are becoming more aware of it, of the fact that we are at an age of the cusp of Pisces and Aquarius. Basically means that every 2160 years, the sun moves through the constellation. It's called the zodiac ages. So it moves backwards instead of forward like we know in our zodiac signs. And the reason why is because of how the earth turns around the sun in an axis, which makes it that it's slowly making the sun move through the constellation. Okay, that's the best way that I know it. I'm not an astrologer. I'm not someone that looks at zodiac signs. I barely know things about myself, but I want you to know that since I started this podcast episode, you need to go ahead and research everything. Research everything that you are questioning, research everything that I'm saying, because I can come here and tell you that you, as a Black person, if you look into your ancestry, you will find that you might be a descendant of an ancient Egyptian or a descendant of this tribe in Africa, which is a descendant of ancient Egyptians. The reason why it's important to know this is because as we're moving from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius is about the truth. It's about water. It's about memory. So a lot of people will bring forward these memories that we forgot, right? A lot of people understand that we have been moved throughout the ages, throughout all these years that humans lived on Earth. And we have to understand that in order for us to know where we're going, we have to know where we come from. I mentioned that it is important to know where you come from. It's important to know your history. And the reason why I say that is because as I was saying that, I went into my own history and discovered that my background, I'm a Luba, which means that I come from the Kingdom of Congo that comes from the Bantu people. The Bantu people, they are the descendants of ancient Egyptians, but more in the Hebrew side, because if you look at the language and the priesthood, similar, right? So what I'm saying is it's very important to understand, because I'm like, why then? Why is that? Because I thought, okay, as I'm exploring reality and spirituality, I'm understanding that the more you're melanated, the more it's easy for you to awake, to ascend, and actually have these powers that people are talking about on earth. You can now embody God on earth. Someone that has less melanin will do the same thing, but will only have this result of good health, of being at peace and finding happiness on earth, which is okay. But like, I'm asking myself, like, is it a coincidence? It's not. I am melanated, and I am realizing that I have some powers within me that I need to discover. And it only came because I was able to go back, looking at my ancestry and finding out that the ancient Egyptians, they were very, very much living that heaven on earth that you want. A lot of information that I shared on my podcast, especially about the right and left brain, the 10% that we use of our brain and the 90% that we don't use, but it's there and we use it without knowing, right? And that's where the I am spell, the everything comes in, because we have all these things and we contradict ourselves all the time because of this. With the last 3 episodes, I gave you the tools that you will need in order for you to go through your spiritual awakening. Becoming more conscious is very much the point of the last 3 episodes. It was not for you to stop being friends with certain people. I mean, if it's necessary, please do. But it is for me to make you understand that it is not only you that is here trying to make a living or whatever. You have multiple mirrors of yourself, other human beings that are very different, experiencing life differently, right? But these people can also affect you and affect your evolution in life. So consciousness, being conscious, is very much about using both brains, the right and left brain, so that you can become more creative and also use your logic to fulfill your needs on earth. Okay? So my goal here for this podcast, for my brand, for my whole existence is really for me to help you understand that you are not just this physical body. A lot of people think that they are just physical, everything is material for them. And biologically, we can just look at the difference between men and women and the difference between black and white. Those are the dualities that we have, and we have to look at it. It's not to be racist, it's not to be sexist, it's to look at the facts that most women, it's easier for us to become creative, to do a lot of things that are very much abstract than men. Men need the logic. They need to really become very, like, they're very action and they want the material things. Their value is based on what they produce. But for us women, it is recent that we started thinking that we have to produce in order for us to have value. And especially when it comes to women, it's like we produce with our being, right? Just being is enough. But we started to get more materialistic by saying that we need to have some type of status to we have to be some type of man's woman, we have to be in some type of job and stuff like that. And every year as you look back, it looks like people just trying to move up the materialistic level of who's going to be best and who's going to have more money, all of the material stuff, right? And when you look at it that way, you will also understand that most people are very much in the materialistic world, right? Most people do not understand that they are a spirit. Further in this podcast, I'm going to explain to you why is that. Why is that people just forget that they have a spirit? Why is that, like, how is that weird? It's so weird. Like, as a woman, I'm telling you this and you know that you have a spirit. Multiple women understand that we have the spirit, we have this intuition because it's within us. It's that motherly love. It's the mother instinct that we have. And that's literally resides on the right brain. So we don't have a choice but to use the logic and our right brain together so that we can live, right? That's why a lot of us women, we outsmart men in many ways, but it's all biology. Okay, it's a blessing to be a woman, but it's also hard sometimes because we have to deal with the fact that most people do not have this spiritual side, this intuition side. They're not aware of it, actually. Not that they don't have, but they're just not aware of it. So it's very important to understand this so that when you move up into your spiritual awakening, you understand what's going on. You understand why other people cannot see life the same way as you. It's because biologically, most people will have to work harder to get where you are. Like, for example, I mentioned in previous episodes that it's important for a man to be comfortable with his feminine side. A lot of men suppress that, right? And we say that women are emotionally unintelligent, but most men are not emotionally intelligent. They cannot go and face their emotions, right? So that's the important thing to understand. And when you are becoming more and more aware of these things, you look at the world, you will stop judging. You will actually feel more love and pity because you understand that it's the condition that they're in. Okay, so it's the same thing as you when you are moving from not knowing to knowing. You shouldn't be going back and, like, because that's the ego, right? Our ego is there to make us feel like we are important. Yes, you are, but you don't need to go and tell people about it. Okay, so understand that your being, your whole being, is a whole process. Actually, in the next episode, we are going to talk about the evolution of man, and I'm going to explain to you exactly how everything works so that you understand more. But what I want you to know is that by now, right now, you should be aware of yourself and aware of the power that you hold, right? So as you're consuming this podcast, it's funny because when I started this podcast, I did not know that I was going to be talking about this today. I started this podcast, my very first episode was about confirming that you are made in the image of God. It's like I knew something. Well, I did because I grew up in a Christian household and that's what the Bible says, right? Talking about the Bible, I feel like people need to sit down, or maybe I should do another series on YouTube just preaching you about the Bible, because the Bible has so many gems that are hidden that people cannot just notice. And the reason why you cannot just notice it is because of your level of awareness. Okay? The more you know, the more you read the same Bible, the same book that you've read, you'll understand it differently. And that is so weird, right? I find that very interesting, to the fact that the more you know and you revisit something, you'll probably be like, I trusted that? That is what it said, or I did not know. Like, how did I miss this? Right? And it's always like that because your level of awareness was not there. And that's where Jesus says, who anyone who has the ears to hear hears. It's because it's not everyone that has the same level of awareness. Now, my goal here for you is really to start being proactive. My goal here for you is for you to stop putting everything else to guide your life. You are not someone's pet, you're not someone's toy or tool to use to accomplish their mission. Okay? You have to understand this. It's only when you allow it, when you agree to do stuff, that you can. A lot of us fall into this trap where we agree to terms like work and stuff because we don't have a choice, right? We get put in situations where we no longer have a choice but to agree to certain terms. But I want you to know right now that everything is possible. Okay? There was this beautiful quote that I think really shaped the rest of us today, and it's moving on and beyond whatever we are going to get into. But when this era started, especially when it comes to school, work, and stuff, there's John D. Rockefeller that said that he wants a nation of workers and not a nation of thinkers. I've always pondered on that quote. And the more I pondered on it and the more I grew, the more I understood and saw that a lot of us are slaves, a lot of us are workers, a lot of us are NPCs. We are just very much like zombies, just going through life, having the same routine and not doing anything to uplift ourselves. A lot of people think that the fight that you fight today is a fight that you fight with the same force. But you have to understand that as much as you are a spiritual being, in order for you to fight this world of chaos, you have to go inward so that you can arrange. Because again, you are the source, and I'll explain this even further in my next podcast episodes, but you are the source, right? So everything comes from you. Your world comes from you. But the reason why you guys are seeing the same thing, or you're born and everything is already there, is because you are collectively linked, right? We are all collectively linked. We all have this big sun and we all are sun rays. So sun rays is just part of the sun, right? So when you see things that's already there, it's because most humans already started manifesting their reality. Okay, so you also come on earth, and the first 28 years of your life, you are just following whatever people taught you to do, right? You don't really become your own self until you're older. But one thing that I want you to understand is, back to that Rockefeller quote, is the fact that I believe that we were made to become thinkers. I believe that we were made to become an asset and not an accessory. You are not someone's accessory to be used and stuff like that. You have to understand that people can use you, but it's going to be on your terms. Okay, people can use you, but it's going to be on your terms. And so an asset becomes that person that holds things down. An asset becomes the person that guides their life in a way that's for you to fulfill your mission on earth. Going up to season 4, I really want to walk you through this asset foundation thing. And that's why I created the asset foundation manual. It's made for single people, but I believe everyone is single. Okay, everyone, even though you're married in the human man-made marriage, you're basically single. You still have your mission on earth. And you cannot do it while being a worker. You cannot fulfill your mission while you're a slave. You cannot fulfill your mission while you're an accessory. You have to literally understand that you've been brainwashed and there is no going back to it. There's only unlearning from here. So you have to learn how to unlearn many things that you've learned your whole life. And you have to also know that, okay, well, I'm unlearning all of this, but what is it that I have to learn? Okay, so keep these things in mind. They are really what you need in order for you to evolve into the next stage of man. Okay, so if you need help working on yourself or you need the foundation manual so that you understand what is it that you need to do so that you put your foot down in your life, download the Asset Foundation. The link is in the show notes below. And what are you doing not subscribing, following? Let's connect. I want to hear about what you think of the last episodes that I've shared since I come back. And one thing that I wanted to touch on is answer one question that I got about my head covering. So, the head covering, as we're going through my podcast episodes, as I'm going to share more and more, you'll understand that your brain works with symbols, right? And the fact that I am here guiding you, someone who does not understand that you have a spirit, I understand that your spirit speaks with symbolism. And my symbol here is the fact that I don't want distractions. I just didn't want to think about what I'm going to wear or how I'm going to look like here. So I decided to cover my head. And most important thing here is to protect my vibration when I speak. So everything is intentional here. I also want you to be intentional with your life. Okay, so download the Asset Foundation below, especially if you feel like you've been a slave in your life and you're sick and tired of doing that. Okay, so take care of yourself and remember, self first isn't selfish, it's just a standard. Bye bye.